Sairam students, I hope all of you are doing good, and I also hope that your exams were good. Today we will begin with a new poem from your New Voices textbook, and the name of the poem is We Wear the Mask, written by Paul Lawrence Dunbar. Students, just go and get your book and a pen, get your New Voices textbook and open your textbook to this page wherein you have the poem, and let's get started with our poem. But before we proceed, students, let's know something about the poet. Paul Lawrence Dunbar was an American poet, novelist, and playwright of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Born in Dayton, Ohio, to parents who were enslaved in Kentucky before the American Civil War, Dunbar began writing stories and verse when he was a child. So that's about the poet. Now, let us see what is the central idea of this poem. We Wear the Mask is a lyrical poem about the lives of African Americans after the Civil War. The poet explains how the people had to pretend that everything is better and the mental torture they went through. So they had to wear a mask. What mask it was, that I will explain to you in the lines ahead. But let me just give you a picture of the poem, what exactly it is about. Okay, it's a reaction to the experience of being a black in America. And that was just after the Civil War that took place. It was a period where, everything seemed fine for the blacks in America. But they were suffering due to racism and hardship. Now, Dunbar compares the surviving of the pain or of oppression to wearing a mask. He says that it was people over there, the blacks living in America, they had to wear a mask and they had to hide their feelings. The person could not reveal what actually he or she felt. The other person who would see the blacks, they didn't even realize what they were going through. And these blacks, they had to present a more joyful face to the world. So I'll explain these lines in the poem ahead. So let's get started with our poem. We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. The debt we pay to human guile, with torn and bleeding hearts we smile, and mouth with myriad subtleties. Let's understand the meaning of the hard words, students. What's a guile? Guile refers to being sly or cunning. What is myriad? It's a number that is countless, which means too many. And subtleties. The word subtle is an adjective used to describe something that is nearly imperceptible. What is imperceptible? which is unnoticeable, which is undetectable. Okay, or it is too complex to be accurately described. So, what is subtleties? It means it refers to a thing or multiple things that have this quality. Quality of what? Quality of being imperceptible. Clear? So, let me just explain the lines to you. The poet says, "We wear the mask that grins and lies." So here he uses the word we, which means he is speaking about the entire community and not of himself alone or his family alone. Okay, over here, we means his entire black community. So he says that we wear the mask, we are wearing the mask, and that mask grins and lies. It smiles and it is telling lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. So what is that mask doing? That mask is hiding the cheeks, and it is, what is it doing? It is shading the eyes as well. Okay, then what happens when the mask is, what happens when the mask is shading the eyes? The eyes are being covered, so you cannot understand how a person feels. Okay, they say that eyes, they are the window to the soul. Looking into the eyes, you can understand how the person is. Is he happy or is he sad? But what is this mask doing? The mask is shading our eyes. It is shading their eyes, which means the person cannot understand how the other person who is wearing a mask is feeling. Clear? This debt we pay to human guile. Okay, this human cunningness. Okay, this is what we are paying to the human cunningness. Now, what had happened? These blacks, they were, the black Africans, they were tricked into, they were asked to come aboard to the American ships. And once they reached America, they were sold to the plantation owner. And then onwards, slavery began. They used to work as slaves, for the plantation owners. And the only emotion that they could show at that point of time was cooperation. If they showed something else, they were beaten. So that's the reason they say that we wear the mask, and that mask, it grins, it smiles, and it is telling lies. So this is the human guile, the human cunningness that is mentioned over. It's actually not mentioned, but this is what it relates to. Clear? With torn and bleeding hearts we smile. So our heart is torn into pieces. It's bleeding, but we are smiling. We have put up that mask and we are smiling. And mouth with myriad subtleties. Okay, there are many things that we have to say, but we are being very, very careful. Okay, we are not speaking anything. Why? Because we don't want anybody else to understand what we are going through. But there is so much that we have to say. Students, I hope the first stanza is clear to all of you. And now in the next slide, I have a gist of the first stanza. Let me just read that for you as well. We all wear a mask that makes it look that we are happy, but it's a lie. The mask covers our cheeks and casts a shadow over our eyes. This mask is the price we pay for the fact that people are capable of such a deceit. The human guile that I discussed with you students. We smile despite feeling as though our hearts have been broken and battered. And we make thousands of careful little tweaks as we speak to others so as to not to reveal our true self. So this is just an explanation of your first stanza. So what is little tweaks? Little tweaks is changes. Okay, we make thousands of careful little tweaks as we speak. There are many things that we want to speak, but we are bringing about changes in that. Why? Because we don't want others to understand what we are going through. Okay, so and then he says that why do we make these changes? So as not to reveal our true selves to others. Clear? Let's continue. Why should the world be overwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. So what is the poet telling over here? Why should the world be overwise? Why should the world be extremely smart, extremely wise in counting our tears and sighs? Now here if you see, it's these two lines, basically it's a rhetorical question asked over here. What's a rhetorical question? Basically, rhetorical question is a question wherein the answer is not expected. Okay, when I ask you, what is your name? I expect an answer from you. Okay, but in in poems or while giving speeches, rhetorical questions are asked, and rhetorical questions are questions wherein the answer is not expected. So here as well, here if you see, the poet has asked a rhetorical question. What is that? That why should the world be overwise? Why should the world be extremely wise in understanding, in counting our tears and sighs? Nay, nay is for no. Let them only see us. Let them see us from outside. Okay, let them feel that we are happy. Okay, while we wear the mask, we are hiding our true selves behind that mask. I hope students this stanza is clear as well. The explanation part of this particular stanza. What use it would be for the rest of the society to pay close attention to all the details of our suffering. Okay, how will the society does not even bother. It's a very sarcastic way that the poet has used. Okay, what would be, what use would it be for the rest of the society? How are they even bothered, or how do we even relate to them, and why should they even pay attention to our sufferings? So he says, no, society will only see us while our faces are hidden behind the mask. Let's continue, students. We smile, but O great Christ, our cries to thee from tortured souls arise. We sing, but oh, the clay is vile beneath our feet and long the mile. But let the world dream otherwise, we wear the mask. He says that, the poet says, we smile, we are smiling. But oh great Christ, Jesus Christ, listen to our cries. Listen to our, listen to the pain that we are going through because of this. To thee, to you, from tortured souls arise. Okay, this cries that are coming from, it's coming from where? It's coming from the tortured souls. If you remember, I spoke to you about the human guile, though it is not mentioned over here, students, but it relates to that only. Okay, so he says that our cries, they are coming from where? They're coming from tortured souls. We sing, we are singing, but oh, the clay is vile, the mud is unpleasant. And which mud is he talking about? The mud, the clay beneath our feet and long the mile. And then he says, but let the world dream otherwise. But let the world feel that we are happy. Okay, let them dream otherwise. Otherwise is let them feel that we are happy. We wear the mask. Clear? Now let me just give you the explanation part of this stanza as well. But even as we smile, on the inside, we are crying out to God from the depths of our tortured soul. Students, you can write down the explanation part. Okay, all three stanzas, I have given you the explanation part. If you wish to, you can jot it down in your classwork book. So he says that, this cry is coming from where? It's coming deep from the tortured souls. We sing, but the mud we must walk through is disgusting. It's unpleasant. And the mile through which we must walk feels so long. The distance is too long. Where we are walking, that path is too long. Despite all this, let the rest of society pretend that we are not suffering. Meanwhile, we'll continue wearing the mask. Students, I hope the poem is clear to all of you. That's it, students, for the day. Next class, when we catch up, we will deal with the literary devices used in the poem, and also we'll see the value points and the reference to the context. You will take care of yourselves, students, until we meet next. Sai Ram and bye-bye.